Welcome to another episode of live stream, My Journey to the Trinity. Today I went out to evangelize, and when I did, it was started to rain. And when it started to rain, I thought, well, let me just look at my phone, see what's going on YouTube, on Facebook and stuff. And I found that somebody this article had put this article on, had posted this. It says the Quran is a work of peace, not violence. A leading Muslim scholar's encyclopedia of the Holy Book proves Islam does not condone terrorism, he tells Brian Appleyard. It proves that, no? Okay. You know, it's very interesting. Uh, it does, when it says proves, you know, this is from a respectable Western publication. And so I wonder why they didn't put proves in quotes, instead of just saying it proves it. If it proves it, then, he's done something that nobody else has been able to do. But anyway, so I just wanted to read the article, and I pulled it up and I read a little bit. In fact, I have the article here. So let's go ahead and read part of the article together and see what this article says. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Okay. Here's I didn't find it in the actual newspaper, but I did find it in this article in this website. It's Minhaj al-Quran. And here's the picture of the writer. Okay, and this is the writer. This is you guys, for the Sunday Times. That's a very big, very highly respected, the Times publication in Australia. So anyway, it's like their New York Times. It's a huge. So anyway, so this is a big publication. So let's just read a little bit about what this guy is saying. He says, to the terrorist eye, it is there in black and white. Slay the idolaters wherever you find them, and take them captive and besiege them and lie in wait for them. This is the 5th verse of the 9th chapter of the Quran. It is known as the verse of the sword. And to angry jihadists around the world, it is God's order to kill non-believers. But according to Dr. Muhammad Tahrir Qadri, it is anything but. Okay, so this is what the doctor says in the interview. In all 114 chapters, says Qadri, there is not a single verse of the Quran that permits any Muslim to kill non-Muslims in general. The sword verse, he argued, refers to a specific battle between Muslim and pagan Arabs. It does not apply to any non-combatant non-Muslim. In 2010, Qadri, a Pakistani-born Muslim scholar, now living in Canada, of course, I wonder if he lived in his native-born Pakistan, if he would have written this book. I wonder if he would have written this book if he lived in Pakistan. But he lives in Canada. He issued a 600-page fatwa saying terrorism and suicide bombings are unjust and un-Islamic. Terrorists, he said, would burn in hell. So, very interesting. Very interesting. So terrorists will burn in hell. Okay, well, that is very interesting. Terrorists will burn in hell, and that there's not one verse in the Quran that encourages the attack, killing non-Muslims. non-combatant Muslims. Okay. So anyway, when I read that, I was curious. I wanted to understand, yes, it does describe a lot of violence, and Andrew, more than that, it incites a lot of violence. It doesn't just describe, it incites violence. And so for him to be saying this, of course, he lives in Canada. And he says these things. And so anyway, one thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to look specifically at the verse that they are talking about here. It's Surah 9, verse 5, Surah At-Tawbah, Ayah Khamsa. It is known as the verse of the sword. I think, this guy, you know what? I think he maybe believes what he's saying. Would you like to come on with me, Truth Defender? I was kind of hoping you would come on because I'd really like to, I kind of would like to hear some of your insight about this. You guys, Truth Defenders here. And just because, I really appreciate your insight. I know you have a lot of insight about this particular subject. And so anyway, oh, you're shy. I'm so sure. You were on TV with me like about 10 times, man. You're not shy. I'm not. Did you hear, Truth Defender? Did you hear what I read from the guy's article? Did you hear what I just read? Just because, I just wondering if you'd be interested to comment on it. Let me just show it again. This is what he says. The name of the article is "The Quran is a Work of Peace, Not Violence," and a leading Muslim scholar encyclopedia on the Holy Book proves that Islam does not condone terrorism. He says, okay, so it's good they said he says there. Okay, and this is what he says. This is the author of the article says: to the terrorist's eye, it is there in black and white. Slay the idolaters wherever you find them, and take them captive, and besiege them, and lie in wait for them. That is the 5th verse of the 9th chapter of the Quran. It is known as the verse of the sword. To angry jihadists around the world, it is God's order to kill non-believers. But according to Dr. Muhammad Tahrir Qadri, it is anything but. And then this is what the doctor says, the author of the encyclopedia. In all 114 chapters, says Al-Qadri, there is not a single verse of the Holy Quran that permits any Muslim to kill non-Muslims in general. Now that still makes me nervous because he had to add in general there. The sword verse, he argues, refers to a specific battle between Muslims and pagan Arabs. It does not apply to non-combatant non-Muslims. Okay, and then it says here, in 2010, Qadri, a Pakistani-born Muslim scholar now living in Canada, issued a 600-page fatwa saying terrorism and suicide bombings are unjust and un-Islamic. Excuse me 1 second, I just gotta go. I just gotta answer this phone call real quick. Excuse me. Hello? Hello? Excuse me 1 second here. Sorry, guys. I just got to go.
If you want to mute yourself, I'll talk if you want.
Go ahead, bro. Talk.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Truth Defenders. Thanks, Steve, for having me back. The question of jihad here, I'm going to read you guys a booklet I got from a Muslim in Santa Monica, California. That was at 3rd Street Promenade. And this comes from a Muslim who was arguing with us about the question of jihad and Islam. And he wanted us to understand Islam. So he gave us a little booklet. and the title of the booklet is The Muslim's Belief. And this little booklet is by Sheikh Mohammed Asaleh Al-Uthaymin. And it is translated by Dr. Maneh Hamad Al-Johani. And excuse me for the terrible pronunciations, but Arabic is not my primary language. But anyways, in this little booklet on page 22 of The Muslim's Belief, it states this: "It is our opinion," and I'm quoting now, "it is our opinion that whoever claims the acceptability of any existing religion today other than Islam, such as Judaism, Christianity, and so forth, is a non-believer. He should be asked to repent. If he does not, he must be killed as an apostate because he is rejecting the Quran. It is also our opinion that whoever rejects the universal message of Muhammad, peace be upon him, is rejecting the message of all messengers, even if he claims that he believes the followers of his message. Allah the Exalted said, Noah's people rejected the messengers," in Surah 26, Ayah 105. "Thus Allah considered them rejecting all the messengers despite the fact that there was no messenger before Noah. This is also clear from the following verse. Those who disbelieve in Allah and his messengers and wish to make division between Allah and his messengers and say we believe in some and disbelieve in others, wishing to take a midway course, those indeed are the unbelievers. And we have prepared for the unbelievers a humiliating punishment." So this little booklet, The Muslim's Beliefs, being handed out in America, in California, at a mosque in Culver City, in Santa Monica, or near Santa Monica, the city next to it being Culver City, states clearly, once again, page 22, "It is our opinion that whoever claims the acceptability of any existing religion today other than Islam, such as Judaism, Christianity, and so forth, is a non-believer. He should be asked to repent. If he does not, he must be killed as an apostate because he is rejecting the Quran." Now, when we pointed this out to the Muslim, apparently he hadn't read it. And he demanded this booklet back, but unfortunately, once he handed it to us and said it was a gift, it became our property. So he couldn't get it back. And I still have the original copy to this day. I've made several copies for others. And when I looked for this booklet online for a PDF file, every PDF file that I found uploaded online omits this section, which again, as we were talking about with Steve last time, they are continually expunging all of these things that are problematic for them. So a mosque in Culver City, and I believe the name of the mosque, I do have a picture here. It is the King Fahad Mosque on 10980 Washington Boulevard in Culver City, California. So I can even give you the number to the mosque. It is 310-202-0432. And I'm sure they still have some of these in there. This was about at least 15 years ago that I got this booklet. But every time I went over there to ask for more copies, they conveniently ran out. They didn't have any available. So it was a good thing that we got a hold of this one copy through the ignorance of the Muslim. But it's there, folks. They truly do believe that a non-Muslim is to be called to the religion of Islam. If he rejects that message, he is to be killed as an apostate. That is in print. I have the booklet, the original copy, and any editions you'll see online they expunge this. I don't know if there's any prints available from any used bookstores that you can order, but it's called The Muslim's Belief, and it is by Sheikh, let me get this exactly right, Sheikh Mohammed Asaleh Al-Uthaymin. So that is a fact. The Quran and the Hadith clearly teach that the Muslims are not to take the non-believers, the non-Muslims as friends or protectors. They can try to say that that's only in the context of warfare, but that's not true. Anytime the Muslims claim to be friends with non-Muslims, this is a hypocritical friendship. It is a one-way friendship. Nowhere does the Bible ever teach that a non-Christian cannot have non-Christian friends. What it does say is that we cannot have fellowship. That's totally different than a friendship. Fellowship within the biblical context is in the context of koinonia, meaning a biblical, godly fellowship that is contingent upon our one common belief, which is God, His Word, His Son. This you can't have with non-Muslim, non-Christians, but you can have a genuine friendship with a non-Christian as a Christian. Within Islam, there is no genuine friendship between a Muslim and a non-Muslim. The one Muslim is often quoted that we smile in the face of some, but in our hearts we despise them. That is what the Muslims do, and that is something they clearly follow. It is a hypocritical friendship. So when we speak of our Muslim friends, as Christians, we may have a true one-way friendship towards them. But we have to understand, we can't be naive to the fact that if they are true Muslims, if they truly understand their religion, and they know what Muhammad requires of them, they cannot call you a true friend. The friendship they have with you, if it is genuine, it is contrary and in spite of Islam, not because of it.
Yeah, that's a really important point. You know, right? Because a lot. I think you're echoing. I think you got your. You have YouTube on or something?
No, I closed that off.
Yeah, because
yeah,
am I echoing there?
Yeah, I do hear you echoing a little bit.
Okay, but I think it's better now, right? So.
Let's yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Slightly. There's a slight glitch after I speak, I think. Let me turn my mic off and when you talk, see if that makes a difference.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, that just like what he was saying, because obviously lots of Muslims have good relationships with Christians and Jews and everything, and but I think the key thing was what he said at the end there, and that is that in spite of the Quran, because the Quran says you're not supposed to have friendship with Christians, because it says that if you do, you become one of them. you become one of them once you do that. So, you know, and so thank you so much, and thank you for taking over for me there. You guys, didn't he do a great job? Shouldn't he have his own channel? No, I'm just gonna use that now. You know, you know, I wish I was here to hear what you were saying about jihad. You see, you were reading a paragraph, I mean a pamphlet you said you had when I left.
Yeah, the little pamphlet I got at the Culver City Mosque in near Santa Monica. This was given to us by a Muslim who wanted us to understand Islam. So when we read it on page 22, we found the statement, and I quote, "It is our opinion that whoever claims the acceptability of any existing religion today, other than Islam, such as Judaism, Christianity, and so forth, is a non-believer. He should be asked to repent. If he does not, he must be killed as an apostate because he is rejecting the Quran." That's in an English translation of this little booklet, The Muslim's Belief, handed to us by a Muslim from the Culver City Mosque.
That's not even really typical Islam. I mean, they'll be killed as apostates, even though they never were Muslims.
Well, what did Muhammad say? Everyone, when Allah rubbed Adam's back and he brought forth his prodigy, they all believed. They were all Muslims. Mm-hmm. According to Islamic theology, everyone was a Muslim in the beginning. When you're born, you go astray because of your parents, your environment, the shaitan. So according to Islamic doctrine, everyone is a murtad.
Wow.
So if they hold to this position, they will believe that if you are rejecting the message, you are basically an apostate because you originally were given the message of Islam before you were born, when Allah took Adam's prodigy from his loins and preached and gave them Islam from the beginning. Everyone was Muslim, then brought them forth into paradise or on the earth, and then you go astray from there.
Wow.
So they could have an argument that, yeah, if you're rejecting the message, you're an apostate.
That is
so
amazing. It's amazing that they would leave that in a pamphlet that they're giving to non-Muslims. That's amazing.
Right. But then I searched for this booklet online. In every edition I found, PDF format, they expunged that section.
Of course.
But I have the hard copy. I have the original hard copy in my.
Wow. Could you? Is there any way you could take a picture of that and send it to me?
Yeah, let me do that right now, actually, because I have it in my. I used to present it in my PowerPoints, and I would carry the booklet in Santa Monica, and when they would argue with me, I'd pull it out, and yeah, they would. The Muslim that gave it to us used to go out there pretty frequently, and he wanted it back, but it was too late. It became our property.
Wow, so, that's mind blowing. You know, I almost wonder if that would even be legal. You know,
right?
That almost sounds like incitement. You know.
Well, at this point, I think they've probably done away with all the editions because we made it public.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, once we started talking about it, and then I started searching for it online, I couldn't find it anymore.
Okay. You know what? They could take it out of their pamphlets, but it's still in the Quran.
Exactly.
You know, you know, somebody sent me this article, you know, with this, sent a copy of this, you know, this article, and there's some interesting things about it. You know, first of all, you know, he says that there's not one verse in the Quran, 114 surahs, that let me just read it to you here. Because where did I put it? Okay, it's right here. It says in all 114 chapters, there is not a single verse of the Holy Quran that permits any Muslim to kill non-Muslims in general.
I would argue the opposite. I would argue there's not a single verse that forbids a Muslim from killing a non-Muslim in general. Anytime a Muslim, because here are your options under Islam. You are either in a Muslim land under Islamic leadership, Islamic rule, under Sharia, and then all the Islamic laws apply. I have a book, I would have to pull it out. It states clearly that a Muslim can only dwell in the lands of the non-believers for 3 reasons. Yeah. One of them being education, the other I think is traveling, and the other is for jihad. Mm-hmm. So when I meet a Muslim in America and they live here, I ask them, what is your reason for living in a non-Muslim country? Well, I haven't met a Muslim that has ever read this and knows that they're forbidden from living in the lands of the Kafirs unless they have one of these 3 reasons. For education, I think it's travel or commerce, and for jihad.
Jihad, yeah.
So I ask them, are you here for school? Are you here for commerce, for traveling through? Do you have a business here? Or are you here to do jihad? And we got to remember, jihad is not always by the sword. Jihad is by the sword, by the mouth, by the pen. So it could be political jihad. It could be a jihad, a stealth jihad, where they're simply here to spread the religion. They're not engaging with the sword, and therefore they can be deceptive about their reasons.
Yes. Could you take over for another second here, bro? I just got to. I got to go.
Yes, sir. Let's see. I'm gonna learn to look at the comments, folks. If you have any questions, I'll try to read them. Yeah, so anyways, the Muslims are not allowed to live in non-Muslim lands. And so when we see that there's a mass, let's see, where's the newspaper? When we see that there's a migration of Muslims to the West, to Europe, to Australia, to the United States, we got to ask the question, why are they here? What is the purpose? Yes, the reality is a lot of them are fleeing the oppression, the poverty, the persecution from their own people, and the suffrage of living under Islamic rule, which puts you into a 7th century Arabian context. It's very draconian. So a lot of them do flee for those reasons. But once they come here, they don't integrate. They don't take on the culture. They don't take on the customs. They don't take on the loyalty to the constitution of the countries they go to. And so what they do is they start going to their own communities. They start surrounding themselves with other Muslims. They go to Muslim events. They work for other Muslims. And so they start bringing and implementing the culture and the politics and the religion that they fled from. And that is a big problem. So instead of coming and starting a new life with new freedoms in a whole new context, they come and they start implementing and living in that exact same context in which they were miserable, so much so that they fled. So this thing of segregating them, and we don't help with that. We allow them to have their Muslim communities, to build a mosque as the center of their communities, and then they start buying the properties around that mosque and buying up the businesses around the mosque, and before you know, you have a miniature Arabia, a miniature Middle East in an Islamic context, and that builds a wall for us. And that builds the taboos, and that keeps us from going in there and reaching them. Unless you're, Hussein knows the ministry of George Saig. He goes into the heart of these communities, and he goes door to door, and he reaches them, and gives them booklets, gives them information, gives them the gospel. But not a lot of Christians are prepared, are equipped, or encouraged to do that. And so we leave them isolated. And therefore, all that mentality, that isolation, that whole system starts developing once again, so that it's as if the Muslim never left their Islamic country. They're right back in that same context, under the same rules, the same laws, the same pressure, the same influences, and now they're just in a different country. But it's still Islamic, it's still Sharia.
You know, there's another thing that this guy says that I kind of would like you to talk about. I have to go back out and move my car again. But I just, maybe if you would like to talk about this, is that this guy says that he made a fatwa. Okay, so this guy's a scholar, so he made a fatwa. And in this fatwa, he says all terrorists are burning in hell. He said that in the fatwa. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what jihadis really get, according to the Quran.
Okay, well, first of all, I'll start by saying that he's in big trouble, because Muhammad said, I have been made victorious through terror. So if all terrorists are in hell, he just condemned his own prophet, who said that he was made victorious through awe, terror. And Muhammad definitely practiced that when he went on the raids, when he went on it wasn't just defensive jihad, it was offensive. They would attack the caravans, they would persecute the polytheists, they would persecute the non-Muslims in their areas. Once Muhammad got power, once he got influence, once he had the ability to not only suggest certain things, but to demand them, he became the aggressor. And in fact, even before then, we have the accusation of the polytheists to Muhammad. This is one of the contexts of the satanic verses, when the Muslims or the polytheists were accusing Muhammad of treating their gods and their religion harsher and with vindictiveness, unlike the way he would treat the Jews and the Christians. Even though he was not very friendly to Jews and Christians after they rejected him, he was especially aggressive against the polytheists. And this is in their own writings, that the polytheists, the pagans, accused Muhammad of being very hostile towards their gods and their religion. And this is why they retaliated, fought back, persecuted Muhammad and his followers back, basically were in self-defense mode, and then chased them out. And I do want to make a correction from what I stated yesterday, which was that the Muslims were going from Mecca to Medina during the time of the Satanic verses. It was actually, they were fleeing Mecca and they were going to Abyssinia, which was under Christian dominance, basically. And so when the Muslims were being persecuted by the tribes in Mecca as a retaliation to Muhammad's aggression, they were heading towards Abyssinia. And then from there, they heard the news that Muhammad had accepted that the pagans had repented or had accepted Islam. The pagans actually said that Muhammad had reverted back to paganism and accepted the religion of the tribes and of his forefathers. And so there was a little bit of confusion what actually took place. Did Muhammad revert to paganism, or did the pagans embrace Islam? Well, the reality is Muhammad compromised, accepted the worship of Allat, Al-Uzza, and Manat, the third, and therefore the pagans bowed down and worshipped with him. The word spread. It got to the Muslims that were headed to Abyssinia. They started heading back from Abyssinia back to Mecca, thinking that the pagans had turned to Islam, and now the persecution was going to stop. In between that time is when Muhammad supposedly got the rebuke from the angel Gabriel and the correction from Allah that he was going to take away what the devil put in. And then he said, don't worry about it. There hasn't been a prophet before you that the devil hasn't put something in their mouths. And this was simply a test to test those that are hypocritical in their hearts. I mean, to me, that's kind of a stupid thing for excuse, or an idiotic excuse to use in defense of reverting to paganism. But anyways, this is what made Muhammad the first murtad, is when he reverted to paganism for a time until he was challenged by his own Islamic followers as to his words of claiming to be a monotheist. And then that gave him a conviction. He got the convenient revelation that it was only a test, and then rejected those verses. And then those were later expunged from the Quran, but we still find them in some of the narrations in the history of Islam. And this is where we get them from. There are at least 50 authentic narrations that include the issue of the satanic verses. So there is no doubt, there is no question about the fact that Muhammad did say and did embrace the worship and the intercession of the three goddesses, Allat, Al-Uzza, and Manat, the third. And that's clear in all the older writings in the scholars. So that being the case, the persecution came. Muhammad was an aggressor. He did establish jihad. He was a self-professed terrorist. He said, well, let me see if I can pull up some verses here on jihad. Just give me 1 second, folks. Let's look at some of the things Muhammad established. And then I'll also, we can also look at the question of the friendship between Muslims and non-Muslims, because this is something that Christians need to understand. And even non-Christians, our politicians need to understand this, that you cannot trust a Muslim treaty with any Muslim nation, with any Muslim leader. There has never been a treaty made with a Muslim nation that has been kept, ever. They've always broken the treaties, and Muhammad allowed that. He gave it a permission for a treaty to be broken in defense of Islam. So when it benefits Islam, then they can break their treaty. The Bible tells us clearly, let your yes be yes and your no, no. Don't make hypocritical oaths. Don't make an oath that you can't keep. If for any reason a Christian makes an oath, has a treaty, has a contract, and they need to break that oath, they need to make sure that every reason for their breaking of that oath or the compromise of it is legitimate, or that they are apologetic and confess that they are having to break the oath, but not justify it. You know, we do make stupid oaths, we do make stupid promises. And of course, sometimes, for instance, David Wood challenged, I forget who it was, if you do this or prove that, then I'll become a Muslim. I forget what the challenge was. I mean, obviously it's not going to happen, but that's a foolish oath. Let's say a Christian sees that, uses it as an example and says, okay, if you can prove this to me from the Quran, I'll become a Muslim. And the Christian is ignorant of this particular thing, and the Muslim actually proves it. Is that Christian ready to forsake his Lord over a stupid oath? No, we have to be careful when we make these oaths. We have to be careful not to make promises we know we can't keep. So when Muslims challenge me, okay, if whoever can win the debate or this or that becomes a Muslim or a Christian, I'm like, no, why? You're asking me to make an oath that I will deny truth, irrefutable, incontrovertible truth, that I will deny the Lord who bought me, the Lord who died on the cross for me, was crucified, buried, and risen from the dead. How can I ever deny that which I know to be true? It's impossible. So I don't take a stupid challenge like that, because it would mean that I would have to suppress truth in order to become a Muslim. But the Muslim doesn't have that issue, because the Muslim is not established on a foundation of truth, of absolutes and universals. So he can easily go from being a Muslim to a non-Muslim. A Buddhist can be a Buddhist, a non-Buddhist. A Mormon can be a Mormon, a non-Mormon. All of the world's religions, you will find, can go in and out of the faith and change religions the way they change underwear. The Christian can't do that. The Christian would have to suppress truth and live in a lie in order to say, I'm going to stop being a Christian. Do you mean to tell me that you are now claiming that something you claim to be true now can be false tomorrow, can be wrong tomorrow? Well, I hope not. I hope if you as a Christian have any question, any doubt about anything you profess as a Christian, don't go to sleep tonight until you figure out if it's true or false. Because why would you continue in a religious worldview that you're not 100% sure of? And I'm not saying 100% convinced of every aspect of it. I'm saying the things that you profess are a fundamental belief, the things that are essential. If you don't know tonight that Jesus Christ, in fact, is the Son of the living God, how could you put your head on your pillow? I couldn't. And I lost many nights of sleep reading the Bible and searching it out and studying it until I was convinced this is irrefutable. I cannot deny that Jesus Christ is whom the Bible claims he is, who he claimed of himself. And therefore, I have no issues with the challenges of the Muslims. They can bring whatever they want. Bring your imams, bring your sheikhs, bring your caliphs, bring all of your scholars and your professors, line them up and interrogate me. And let's see who comes out on top as the victor in truth. Because they're not coming against me, they're coming against truth. They're not coming against my personal intellect. It's not about an IQ. It's about truth. It's about reality. And everything within the Christian world and life view is in conformity with reality. This cannot be said of any other worldview. Every religion, every philosophy, every idea out there that is in opposition to the Christian faith has to contradict reality in one way, shape, or form. Because to be consistent with reality is to be consistent with God's revelation. And so these worldviews that deny all that, obviously they're going to have to compromise truth. Sorry, Steve.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much. And just another reason, you guys, why he needs his own channel, man. That was great. You see, but I just was going to say that, thank you, first of all. God brought you, man, tonight, because I had to leave all those times, and I had already said that I was going to do this at 10, so I had to do it, but I had to leave all those times. So praise the Lord that you were here, man.
Praise God. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And, one thing I wanted to do is to look at some of the commentaries from some of the Muslim scholars, because one thing he said, and you read this a lot, is that the verse of the sword 9:5 was only for one particular battle, and that it doesn't apply anymore, even though ISIS still applies it, Al Qaeda still applies it, the Taliban still applies it, and they obviously don't believe that it doesn't apply anymore. And
Mhm.
but I just want to look at some of the commentary about this. Let me see. Did I? I don't know if I don't know if I closed the. I think I may have.
Yeah,
Dude,
I
I think
think
I.
everything shut down. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I think I may have shut down all of the. Well, it's real easy to find, so I will go ahead and. I just want to look at some of the commentary because, especially, I want to look at Ibn Kathir, because what he says is a little bit scary,
Mhm.
about this subject. When this guy is saying, "Oh, 9:5 doesn't apply anymore," you know what? What Ibn Kathir says is a little bit doesn't really agree with what he's saying, and so let me just. It's just going to take me a second here to get this. Uh, there's a website called Quran X, and I look at the commentaries, and I want to look at Ibn Kathir, and it's chapter 9, verse 5. Okay, okay. A lot of the commentaries don't have 9:5. They don't have a comment on 9:5. So, but this one Ibn Kathir does, and so this is what kind of is scary right here. Um, this is about 9:5. It
Mhm.
says, so when the sacred months have passed, meaning upon the end of the 4 months during which you're prohibited from fighting idolaters, and which is the grace period we gave them, then kill and fight the idolaters wherever you may find them. Allah's next statement, and fight the mushrikeen. Mushrikeen means people who are idolaters, who worship more than one God,
Mhm.
means the earth in this this is where it was scary. It means on the earth in general.
Right.
That means it's not just, you see, because if it was talking just about that one battle, that was in Mecca there, but here he's saying this is Ibn Kathir, uh, uh, one of the most respected scholars on this, and he says it means on the earth in general. And so that kind of takes the borders a little bit beyond Mecca. so anyway, that's just one thing I wanted to show about that he says that verse doesn't apply anymore. Well, according to Ibn Kathir, it applies everywhere.
Well,
So
the problem is the sacred months have passed. There was, see, they would have a treaty with the pagans,
right.
that during certain months that were sacred to them, they would have a parlay, basically, a ceasefire. But then there was an issue between some of the tribes, and Muhammad sided with one of them and accused the pagans of violating the treaty and said all bets are off. So that was no longer valid. But Muhammad is the one that butted into this issue and decided that all bets were off. He sided with one of the parties that was in dispute here, and got himself involved in it, and basically used it as an excuse to abolish this treaty. So when the Muslims say that, oh look, the pagans violated the treaty, no, that's not true. When you read the narrations, it's clear that it wasn't the pagans who violated the treaty. Muhammad simply sided with one of the parties that were involved and used it as an excuse to abolish the treaty.
Oh,
When we look at some of the commentators in the footnotes on these narrations, we can see that here's the ayah of the sword. Mujahid Amr bin Shuya, forget the names. These are crazy names. It says, Aslam said that the 4 months mentioned in this ayah are the 4-month grace period mentioned in the earlier ayah. So travel freely for 4 months throughout the land. Allah said next, and then we see, so when the sacred months are passed, meaning upon the end of the 4 months during which we, meaning Allah, prohibited you from fighting the idolaters, in which is a grace period we gave, then fight and kill the idolaters wherever you find them. Allah's statement next, then fight the mushrikeen wherever you find them, means on the earth in general. That's exactly what you quoted, except for the sacred area. For Allah said, and then it continues, and fight not with them at al-Masjid al-Haram unless they fight you there. But if they attack you, then fight them. And then it has a reference to Surah 2:191. Allah said here, and capture them, executing some and keeping some as prisoners, and besiege them and lie in wait for them in each and every ambush. Do not wait until you find them, rather seek and besiege them in their areas and fords. Gather intelligence about them and in the various roads and fairways, so that what is made wide looks ever smaller to them. This way they will have no choice but to die or embrace Islam. And it goes on, and I'm just reading directly from their own footnotes, their own references. It goes on where it is clear. The Sacred Months Treaty is abrogated. It's done. Now it is their duty to, within the context, again, of their ability, of their power, of their control, of their influence. So they don't always pull out the sword. They might pull out the pen, use propaganda. They might use the mouth, use, accuse you of hate speech, use deception, taqiyya. So jihad, folks, has many different forms. It's not simply, even within Islam, we understand that when they asked Muhammad, what are the greatest deeds? He did mention the greater jihad, the Akbar jihad, meaning their own personal pilgrimage and basically submission to Allah, where they're submitting to Allah, His will, and being a pious Muslim. But the lesser jihad is the jihad of the sword. So when a Muslim says, no, the greatest jihad is the submission to Allah. But what is the submission to Allah? Is to honor the jihad of the sword. Yeah. You can't get out of it. They're always being very crafty.
This makes me think of too is the for Quran only Muslims, those who don't take the commentaries, don't take the hadith, what do you do with this verse? This is a very dangerous verse to be Quran only with. you know, because you don't have this only applies at this battle, or Aisha said this, or Abu Bakr said something. This is, if it's Quran only, which a lot of Muslims have totally thrown away the hadith because it's so embarrassing, and they're Quran only. Well, this is it's a terrible situation to be in, to be Quran only with a verse like this. Because what do you do with it? Does it apply now, or does it not apply now? There's nothing in the verse that seems to indicate that it doesn't apply now.
Right. Yeah, that's the problem. And the problem with being Quran only is that the Quran itself tells you to follow the Sunnah of the Rasul of Allah. Mm-hmm. Well, what is that? Where do you get that from? You get it from the hadiths.
Yes.
And let me give you a quote. I'm sure you're familiar with Dr. Muzamil Siddiqui.
I've heard of him, yes.
Yeah, he was the head of the mosque in Garden Grove, the Islamic center there. And he actually said that I was insane. Somebody told him I was out in Santa Monica preaching against Islam and what he thought about me. And he said, "Oh, that Louis is crazy."
Well, congratulations, man. You got to make a T-shirt with that. So
yeah. So here's what he said. I found a quote by him on the hadiths. And let's see where it is. Here it is. So Dr. Muzamil Siddiqui, he was the head of the Islamic Society of Orange County, incorporated in January 5th, 1976, one of the largest Muslim centers in the
That's
Western
right by the
Hemisphere.
car wash. That's right by the car wash where I always. That's right next to where I put my table, man. Too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
And
because
they have almost 7,000 worshipers there.
yeah.
So here's what he said. He was asked about the hadith, and he said, I believe, and I'm quoting, I believe that all those people who doubt the ahadith of the Prophet and or those who consider them unnecessary for understanding Islam are wrong and have no rational, logical, or objective reason for their doubts, end quote.
Wow.
So that's Dr. Muzamil Siddiqui. So whenever I would run into a Muslim in Santa Monica, most of them were familiar with him. And if they doubted anything within the hadiths, I would simply quote Muzamil and say, what is your rational, logical reason for rejecting it? Because Dr. Muzamil says you don't have any.
Well, you see that the situation with the hadith is it can rescue you in a really tight situation. For instance, when it talks about beating your wife, because the Quran commandment is udrubuhunna, which is just beat them. But if you get into the hadith, you might get into this toothbrush thing, and the miswak and all that kind of stuff. But if you're Quran only, you're stuck with just udrubuhunna, and you don't got no guidelines for what that means. And then when you take this 9:5, that's another situation right now that I just kind of right now thought about that killing the infidels wherever you find them. If you got the hadith, you kind of got an escape route. You can say, oh, it only applies here or there. But if you're Quran only, then you don't got that escape route. It's there and it still applies. And even if you have the hadith,
right?
A lot of people still
Quran only Muslims are still under the pressure of having to give a context. It's inescapable. If you read the reasons and occasions of the revelation of the Holy Quran, that's the title. This is the oldest edition of the context of the revelations of the Quran. And I have two editions. And one of them, the English Arabic text translated by Haytham Cridley, it states this on page 10 concerning the reasons and occasions of the revelation of the Quran. This is a science, and it states this on page 10. The doctrine of Islam threatens the one who disregards or is ignorant of this science with the punishment of the hellfire.
Wow.
Anytime I talk to a Muslim, I say, whatever verse you're going to quote to me, I hope you understand the context in which it was given, the application. Is it abrogated? Is it not abrogated? Is it applicable? Are you giving me the proper translation of it, understanding? Because if not, your own scholars threaten you with hellfire if you misapply this text of the Quran. So I give them the warning. If you tell me that the Quran doesn't teach that you can beat your wife, you're in danger of going to hell for misapplying it, for mistranslating it. Or are you practicing taqiyya with me? What are your options here? Are you lying to me, or are you endangering yourself of going to hell by your own scholars?
Wow.
So you got to put them on the defensive, where they need to understand they have an accountability before their own scholars to understand their own religious text.
Wow. Thank you for showing us that. And there is the Asbab al-Nuzul by al-Wahidi. That's the book you just mentioned. That's
that's exactly right.
Nuzul. But the only problem is it doesn't talk about 9:5.
You know what? Let me look at both editions because I have them both here. I think you might be right because I've been going through some of it, and there are some omissions here and there. Yeah, because I was also looking on the section page 254 where it talks about Muhammad ordering the killing of dogs. Because somebody once said that was not true, and Muhammad certainly did. When the messenger ordered the dogs to be killed, the people came and asked, "O Messenger of Allah, what is lawful to us from this nation that you are killing?" And he goes on to explain, and then compromises. Okay, only if you use them for shepherding or they have a use like that.
He had he had a real problem with dogs, man. I was going to do a program. I was going to do a program when I had the TV show about this, but they didn't let me because I
Huh.
said, dude, dogs really got the short end of the stick, with what, I mean, first of all, the angels wouldn't come to the house that they were in. And, you
Well,
know,
here's the thing: dogs are very perceptive, and they are a great judge of character. And if the angels that Muhammad was encountering
or
weren't
demons.
weren't
Oh,
received by dogs, maybe they were demons. Maybe they weren't messengers of God, but of the devil. And the
dude,
dogs knew this, and that's
dude,
why they wouldn't come in.
dude, you've got 3 episodes already, okay? You've got 3 episodes. And this dog situation is that, the dogs can. Dude,
Oh,
we had 2 episodes for you yesterday, and here's number 3 already, man. Anyway, I wanted to show this verse. This is from the Hadith, but because they actually relate this to the 9-5 also. And this is a very famous, very, 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 very famous hadith, probably the most famous hadith in the whole hadith collection because
mhm.
it has the shahada in it. And it says, I have, this is Muhammad saying, I have been commanded to fight until the people testify. There's no God except for Allah and Muhammad. And establish,
Mhm.
and those who do will save their lives and their property from me, and so they're saying this is also related to 9-5, that there was uh that philosophy that Muhammad espoused, which is revealed in 9-5. And another thing as well, that 9-5 is believed to be among the last group of verses that Muhammad
Correct.
got. I mean, this is the last verses of the Quran Muhammad received. If you want to, for those who believe that he received them from whoever he received them from, this is the last. And the bad thing about that is that means they cannot be abrogated, even though they abrogated according to, and maybe I can draw this up right here because there is one guy, who was it that I read besides, I think it's El Modudi.
Hmm.
And let me see if I can see what El Modudi said, because I think El Modudi is the one who says that 9-5 abrogated all of the peaceful verses. It,
Correct.
it abrogated all of the peaceful verses that existed uh, in the Quran. And so, the I'm not sure if that was right. I'm not sure it was Elmo Duty, but because I did go through it and I did find that. Let me see. It was somebody that I mean, is it Jalalain or Kashf? Oh,
Well,
let
let's see.
Ibn Abbas. I think it might have been Ibn Abbas because it was a bit. It was one of the big. Uh, okay, take him captive. Okay, I don't see it here, but I did read that. Just there's only one other. I want to try Jalalain, see what Jalalain said. Um,
Oh,
from
here I have a quote that goes in line with that.
okay,
And it cites the verse. It says, "I have been commanded." This in brackets, parentheses. I have been commanded to fight the people until they testify that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah, and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Establish the prayer and pay the zakat. This honorable ayah 9:5 was called the ayah of the sword, about which Ad Dahak bin Muzdahim said, it abrogated every agreement of peace between the prophet and any idolater,
that's
every treaty and every term.
every
Al-Afi said that Ibn Abbas commented, no idolater had any more treaty or promise of safety ever since Surah Bara'ah was revealed. The 4 months, in addition to all peace treaties conducted before Bara'ah, was revealed and announced, had ended by the 10th of the month of Rabi al-Akhir. So yes, that according to Ibn Abbas abrogates all treaties, all peaceful verses.
Okay, then you know, that was you know, that was one of the big things about, I mean, this verse, there's so many aspects to this verse. It's, and for this guy, you know, one thing I read about this guy is that he lives in Canada, and it tells you also in the article, you know, the guy who wrote this article, it tells you how to buy the books. It's 79 Canadian dollars. And so, you know, he's selling his books, but, you know, and he lives in Canada. I wonder if he was in his native Pakistan, if he would have written these encyclopedias there. I wonder if he would have come up with that fatwa, you know, saying that all jihadis are in hell. And, you know, if, you know, it was a 600-page fatwa that he came up with,
Right.
you
But we
know.
got to remember, not all fatwas are binding, because a fatwa is just a judicial edict from the is the imam or the sheikh who pronounces it?
Uh, Mufti, it's
The mufti. Yeah. Okay. So even though it's binding for his community that he's overseeing, it's still less than the hadith, less than the Quran. So a Muslim has according to some hadiths, a Muslim can disobey their leader if he thinks it's contradicting the Quran or contradicting the Sunnah. So it can get debatable. But in general, a mufti gives a judicial edict, and if he's the leader, Muhammad said, remember, listen to and obey your chief, even if it's an Ethiopian whose head is like a zbiba, a raisin. So they are to honor the leader as they honor Muhammad, as they honor Allah. So these are the things you need to be aware of in order for them not to pull a fast one over you.
Yeah.
When the leader gives a fatwa, it is binding unless it is in contradiction with the Quran or the Sunnah. In a fatwa that says the terrorists or jihadis are in hell goes against the Quran and the Sunnah. So you got to have him try to justify that.
Yeah. Well, he's in Canada, so you know he's. But there's another thing that's very important about this, and so I just wanted to I'll just maybe make this the last point of this article, which one thing he says here: almost 10 years have passed, and none of the scholars supporting the terroristic ideology or supporting ISIS or Al Qaeda or the Taliban, none of them has been able to contradict my statement. The reason is they don't know your statement. They think you're a joke, not worthy of even a response. That's why.
Yeah, that's quite a boast right there.
Yeah, but there's something else. There's something else that I feel I need to say, because this is very important, because this was in the Sunday Times, which is a huge, very important newspaper, you know. And so, you know, they're really pushing this thing that he's saying. But the one thing that I'm not sure if I'm going to.
Is he a Sufi?
Yes, that's the thing I want to say, is he's a Sufi. And so, you know, the minute you enter that dimension into it, it's like, yeah, it's like after 9/11, and they would whenever they would have like a panel like on TV, you know, of Muslims, they would always have all these Ahmadis, you know, or you know, these guys. Look, these guys are a tiny portion of Islam, and
right. But even they do have a concept of aggression. They're not completely mystic and non-confrontational. There is a point of contention there. I don't have it right offhand, but if you look into Sufism, they do have a form of, I don't know if it's jihad exactly, but a form of aggression where they're not completely, you know, twirling around with feathers. You know, it can get violent even with them.
Yeah. Well, I got a couple of comments from people on the internet about Sufi, just because they are not like considered like one of the major branches like Shiite and Sunni. In fact, some of the Sufis are Sunni or Shiite, you
Yeah.
know. But just
Well, some would consider them heretical.
yes,
Um, I know there's a lot of issues with Nabil Qureshi,
he was
where
Ahmadi, right? Yeah,
he was, yeah, and a lot of Muslims debate back and forth.
yeah,
Was he a Muslim? Was he not a Muslim? And
right.
that's an in-house debate. I still am on the fence about that, honestly, because studying some of the things that they claim in their doctrines, I don't want to give a definite position yet, but I'm on the fence about would I accept them as Muslim? There's over 200 sects of Islam
Yes,
um, that I have documented where these are professing Muslims. They're not just, for instance, some are clearly heretical. The Nation of Islam, they claim to be Muslims. They're
yeah.
obviously not. But there's at least 200 sects that I have a list of where these groups claim to be Muslims. So I think Muhammad said there would be 70,
72, yeah.
72, 73,
One of them's going to heaven. So
and only one. And that's another thing you want to ask a Muslim. Are you the one?
absolutely,
So then Islam is not the fastest growing religion because you've just diminished it to your sect, your particular group, and you can't claim the numbers of the others anymore.
Well, it's like, you know what? From the Sunnis, my family, my relatives are Sunni. They talk about Shiites, they're Kafirs. The Shiites are Kafirs. But when you're doing the numbers thing, they are, there's over 300 million of them. So you want to have them on your side, So you say that, yes, of course, we're all one. And so, but I want to thank somebody who is using the name watermelon. I believe that's because I have had many watermelon episodes where when I celebrate something, I usually eat a watermelon. And so, but anyway, I appreciate that recognition. But yeah, I wanted to show this. Yeah, I wanted to show this, what these guys say about Sufis. Just here, this was on the internet. It says, Sufis claim that Sufism is a way of purification. This claim of theirs also require existence of another claim in their mind. That is, that Islam is not enough for purification. So we are making Islam better by adding it the way of Sufism. And then this is a response. Yes, Sufis don't find Islam able to clean enough. They develop new emotional methods that clean better.
Oh boy.
That's funny, man. The biggest mistake of Sufi is that when he cries out of emotion, he thinks that he became a good mu'min. They consider the warm feelings inside them as iman, faith. But that's nothing but a normal hormonal phenomenon, which is similar to the feeling a man and a woman. Not the same, of course. These guys are funny, man. But just to show that this guy's a Sufi. And so that's probably why nobody has challenged his great fatwa or statements about jihad, and about 9/5, Anyway.
Yeah, well, I have an edition of the Quran that I can't. It's no longer in print. So if you can find one, get a hold of it. It is the Halali Khan.
Oh, I've heard of it.
It's the interpretation of the meaning of the Noble Quran in English. It's English Arabic, and it is by what is it? Muhammad
Din
Din, yeah, and Halali Khan, Mushin Khan. Well, in the back of this edition, there's an appendix, and it's got one section on jihad. And it says the call to jihad, fighting for Allah's cause in the Quran. And then it says, praise be to Allah who has ordained al-jihad, fighting for Allah's cause. And it says, 1, with the heart, intentions or feelings. 2, with the hand, weapons, etc. And 3, with the tongue, speeches, etc., in the cause of Allah.
Boy, that guy must be related to Joe Biden, man. That's exactly what Joe Biden said.
Yeah. So this gives a whole section on jihad and how it's still applicable. It's still for today. It is meant to be not just defensive but offensive. And he goes through it, but any new additions, they started taking this out of the back of that Quran again. And so I've had this copy for years, and I can't find another one that contains. You can find the article online, but you can't find the Quran that has this attached to it.
Wow.
Which is what I use when I witness to them.
There's big scrubbing happening.
There really is.
Because they're aware they got a big problem. And you know what? It just keep scrubbing those words out. Keep scrubbing, and do it quickly, because you're only 4 inches away from just doing what Uthman did, which is just to burn the whole thing,
Yeah.
And,
This reminded me that anybody doing a search on jihad, don't just use jihad. Look for things the cause of Allah. Find out what the hadiths teach about the cause of Allah or the way of Allah. Do a word.
Yeah. In Arabic, sabilillah. Yes.
Because that is the context of jihad. Fighting in the way of Allah. Striving in the way of Allah. Jihad in the way of Allah, for the cause of Allah. A lot of people think it's just do a word search on jihad. No. It's context, folks. Look at the context. What is going on with these? What is the way of Allah? What is the cause of Allah? Well, it is that you bring the whole world under the subjugation of His word, of His prophet. And if it requires the sword, use the sword.
Yeah.
So that's another thing.
Well, I've got some, for instance, I've got some hadith here, let me just show this, because I've got the thing with, I don't know if you know Linda Sarsour. I think she's related to me, but
oh wow, congratulations.
Yeah, she's Palestinian, and she acts a lot like people from my country. So, but she says jihad is taking care of your family. It's it's prayer, it's fasting for Ramadan. That's the best jihad. And then she got this beautiful quote. She says, "You know what the Prophet said is the best jihad?" And she says, "It is to speaking truth to power." And I said, "Dude, that was in my journalism school. That was, I think, is Martin Luther, to be honest." But anyway, she made it a hadith. So anyway, but here's one thing about how it says, the messenger of Allah said, jihad. He said, "What is the best jihad?" The messenger of Allah said, "The one whose horse is slain and his blood is spilled." So that's the best jihad. But I know there's lots of different best jihads.
Right.
So.
No, but that's true. I mean, they want to paint Muhammad as a peaceful man, but in the history of Al-Tabari, volume 6, it says here as a complaint from you got to remember, whenever the hadiths or the tafsirs or the seerah literature records the words of the pagans, we got to take it with a grain of salt. Did they really say this? Is this real history, or did the Muslims make it up to give a context or a narrative to what they're trying to present? But either way, here in the history of Al-Tabari, volume 4 or volume 5, I'm sorry, volume 6, it says, this is the pagans complaining. "We have never seen the like of what we have endured from this man. He has derided our traditional values, abused our forefathers, reviled our religion, caused division among us, and insulted our gods. We have endured a great deal from him." Mm-hmm. So this is why the pagans started pushing back on Muhammad. Mm-hmm. They want to say, "Oh, Muhammad was being persecuted for his faith and because he became a monotheist." No, he was a jerk. He started the fight. He's the one that started doing what this quote says. He started attacking their gods, their religion, their history, their tribes. And finally they said, and that's why they went to his uncle and said, "Look, this nephew of yours, He's becoming a problem. And if it wasn't for your status, we would have killed him. And so his uncle protected him.
Wow.
Because of his status in the tribe. But Muhammad was a jerk. The moment he realized the Jews and Christians rejected him as a prophet or one of their own, he became bitter and he became antagonistic.
Yeah, there's another hadith about women and stuff, but about the best jihad, for women and stuff. And yeah, wow. Thank you, man. Dude, you are just a treasure chest of knowledge, man. You just got so much, dude. I don't know many people that could do like what you do, man. Just pull it out like that, man.
Well, I'm in front of a computer, but no, but I'm not actually searching everything out. A lot of it is from application. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
So I think I have forgotten more than I wish I had. I used to, when I was out there and I was active on a regular basis and dealing with them, I could quote these things back and forth and give, page number and stuff, exact references. But yeah, it does. Take notes, folks. Get yourself a notepad and make references. Mark up your Quran. I know there's the position that says if you're going to be witnessing to a Muslim, don't use a Quran that you've marked up. That's your personal position. If you think that's going to be a stumbling block, then take one that's not marked up. But as we saw with Ibn Fibbin, he's got a Bible on his table that is all marked up, written on, highlighted, circled, tabs. He did not care to desecrate the Bible with his footnotes, with his markings, to witness to Christians about his religion. So if I go to his table, if I ever go talk to him, I'm not going to have any issue bringing my marked up Quran where I have highlighted things, cross references, footnotes, and he can't take offense to that.
Yeah.
So it's
because that's what because I was doing a TV show on Al Fadi TV, but I didn't have a file system like what you had. I remember when you came on the show and I saw the way your laptop was set up with all of these files and of all these things, and it's just like, dude, I need to start doing that. And I did start doing it after I saw the way you did it, and then I also saw how Sam, of course, Sam, he's just got
his computer's in his head,
off of his head. But I started doing that, and I tell you what, man. Now, whenever I'm talking to somebody, they bring up one thing, bing, Aisha's dress, the subject of did he hit Aisha, all these things. It's just bing, bing, bing. It's all lined up to where it's easy to get to. And of course, on the internet, it's so easy to get stuff, it's like it's so easy to find,
Yeah, and the more you use it, the easier it is to navigate through it. And then you remember, like, I'll have a file, for instance, the primary sources of Islam. And then in that file, I'll have the Quran, the Hadith, the Tafsirs, and then within there, the file of the Tafsirs, I'll have, Ibn Kathir and Jalalain and Abu Dawud, or different Sirah literature also. And so then I'll just do subsets. And so once I know the main point, I know which file to go to, and then from there I can pick different subjects on that one subject, the one heading. So it looks complicated to someone that hasn't been doing it, but once you start using it and applying it, it gets easier to navigate.
Yeah, I just wanted to actually show people how I've done it, and let me see if I could
and different people learn different ways. Some people can do that, other people can go with just straightforward notes. So it's good to see others and how others do things. That way we can take what can apply to us and implement it. So yeah.
Wow. So thank you so much, man, for coming on. We've been on for almost an hour and 20 minutes now, and it was I wasn't here for a lot of it because I had to move my car, but I know that you gave.
Oh, if you lost any viewers, just blame me.
No
That's
way, man. It's like, yeah, well, we've had almost 40 consistently through the whole thing, which is pretty good, for me. Sometimes, usually that's my average is around 40, and so between 30 and 40, every now and then, like when Sam comes on, or uh, sometimes when Adam Seeker, we'll go up to 60 or something like that. That doesn't happen very often, but that's kind of the highest I've reached so far has been about
yeah.
60. So,
Adam Seeger cracks me up. That guy, he's funny.
he, you know,
He's
he-
for being such a young Christian, he's got he's quite a tool that God
yeah.
is using.
Well, you
Yeah,
know what? I think these are the kind of warriors that God is raising up, right now. And the thing is that God has opened the door for him to go into Pakistan. You
yeah,
know, the door that's open for him in Pakistan is, I'm so excited about that, man. I just like praise God that an ex-Muslim Pakistani is reaching into Pakistan with the gospel and causing such a stir that I'm so excited about that. I think that and especially now in light of what just happened in Afghanistan, because a lot of them are the same people, the Pashtuns and everything, and so
yeah,
yeah, I'm really excited about what God's doing there. Yeah,
yeah.
and so that's awesome, man.
Yeah, just a point of caution. Just remember, folks, don't make these people superstars. We're not celebrities.
Hmm.
You know, Adam Seeker has a gift in that he understands Islam and understands it from the original sources, and he has
Yeah,
the language. But he's still young, and he still needs to be under tutelage, and still
yeah,
needs to be raised up humbly. And we don't want to put men on pedestals lest they fall, because that's a point of temptation for the devil to immediately throw somebody into the limelight, give them a platform, and praise them.
yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with that. The Bible says, let another praise you and not yourself.
right.
So it's good to encourage one another, but be careful not to flatter somebody,
Yeah.
lest we get prideful and the fall is worse than anything.
I have seen that. I've seen that where people they put them on, especially ex-Muslims. I've seen it even in
Yeah,
the church, especially in the Arabic church. Quite
right.
often, when somebody, oh, ex-Muslim, they put him on this pedestal, and the
Yeah.
guy hasn't even learned,
They're not theologically grounded yet. They
they
still
don't
hold a lot of
the
influence from different
deity of
camps.
Christ. They have to be grounded in the truth first and learn to, learn to obey the Lord. That's why, I thank God I was saved. I was I was saved, and then I started going to an American church, and it was just like nobody cared, that I was from a Muslim background or anything like that. I
Yeah,
was just a Christian. I was just a Christian. I wasn't an ex-Muslim. I hated that at the beginning. Say I'm an ex-Muslim. I hate that. I don't consider myself an ex-Muslim. I am a Christian.
right.
But now, as a way of reaching Muslims, I don't mind using that.
Right, of course. Yeah.
Not my primary identity. I'm a Christian first.
Yeah. Amen, brother.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much for coming on, bro. And I'm serious. It's okay. Until you make your channel, I'm going to use you. And
Well, yeah, we need to get together. I'll give you the stuff I have, and you can use it as you wish and change it. Because again, it's almost nothing is original to anybody today. It's been done before. It's been done by others. It's just how we apply it, how we present it. That's going to be unique. And what we care about is that the truth gets out there.
that's right.
So
And I just want to say a couple of things about when I went out witnessing today, because I went out, it was raining and stuff. And um, by the way, I almost reached 50 viewers there for a second. But but when I went out, I was actually told by somebody that some of my relatives from my village uh, walked by. I didn't know them, because I don't know everybody in my village and stuff. But they said they were upset with me, because they didn't want to say hi to me because they're mad at me because they say I insult Islam. And I just want to say, dude, I don't insult Islam. What I do is I just read to you what your books say. I read to you what your books, and it does sound like an insult. It sounds like I'm insult, but I'm not. Your books say these things. When I say that Muhammad used to get his revelation in Aisha's dress, that sounds like I'm mocking you and I'm making fun of you, and I'm just reading to you what is in your books. This is what your books say. I'm not, and I want you to know what your books say so that you will make an intelligent decision about your eternity. Do you want to follow this guy? And I say Muhammad married a 6-year-old girl. I'm not making this up. This is in your most respected books that he did, and that he had sex with her when he was 54. She was 9. I'm not making this up. I'm not trying to insult but what I'm worried about you. I'm so worried about you that you're going to follow this man into hell. And that's why I have to keep. And you think, oh, he hates us. He's mocking us. No, I'm not. I'm just telling you what's in your book. So you will, because I know you don't know these things. I know you don't hear these things. I was a Muslim for years, and I never heard any of this stuff. I didn't know that it said this in my books. I didn't know that the Hadith says, that Muhammad married his daughter-in-law. I didn't know that, but it's in your books, and there's even verses in the Quran about it. And it's like a lot of people don't know that it says it. I didn't know that the Quran tells men to beat their wives. I didn't know that. But it does say that. And so I have to tell you, if I don't tell you, then on Judgment Day, you can look at me and say, Steve, I'm going to hell now. I'm going to be there forever. You could have helped me. You could have kept me from going there. And if I want to be popular with you guys, and I would love to be popular with you guys. I know my relatives and family, I would love for all of you guys to approve of me and love me. But on Judgment Day, I'm going to pay for that. And you're going to go to hell, and you're going to look at me and say, you could have prevented this. I'm trying to prevent it now. What you do after you hear is up to you, but I have to tell you. And not just to my relatives. I'm saying this to all Muslims too. So anyway, that came up today while I was there. And so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's part of it. And it's true. We need the love of Jesus. You know what? Jesus came to me so powerfully. I owe it to him. He came in such a miraculous way. I owe it to him. This one David says, what shall I do for all you've done for me, Lord? David says, I will hold up the cup of salvation. That's what David says. Mm-hmm. And that's all we can do. And I know. So anyway, you guys, actually, I think I want to do a song for you guys because it's not too late yet. So my song didn't work yesterday, but I think today it's going to work. So, and plus I got a pretty big audience. We almost got 50 people, man. So we almost had 50 people. So let me see if I got the right harmonica here. Oh, I do. Okay.
Yeah, I used to be able to play Mary Had a Little Lamb on that thing.
I don't know how to do that, by the way. I don't know how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb. I just know how to play my own song.
You ever think about taking your guitar out to your table and strumming while you hang out?
I have thought about it, but I haven't done it yet. But I will eventually. So, so this is a song called Jesse's Corner. Jesse's He's at his corner, plays guitar, preaches the Father's word. People come and listen to him say things that they never heard. Talks about one Easter night, the one by whom his heart was still. I laughed with all the others till the day I fell down on my knees. He said, love's heart, it was broken open so you could see it too. And if it's love you need, my friend, nothing less will do. Through the winter and the summer, he'd be out there every day. I would like to come around to hear what he would have to say. First Street and Vine Avenue came to be known as Jesse's place. God to hear him play those songs as tears were streaming down his face. He said, love's heart, it was broken open so you could see it too. And if it's love you need, my friend, nothing less will do. They came and carted him away, the white coat minions of the state. They said that he was mentally unstable. He said, look, I've got nothing to hide. My life's a book, it's open wide, and all my cards are laid upon the table. But in the cell his heart it broke, the chains fell, cord it broke, and he went to the home that he so often spoke about. There at the Father's side, they broke the tears from his eyes, gave to him the love that on the earth he did deny. Back at Jesse's corner, people ask what happened to the man. Used to come and play guitar as he laid out the master's plan. They said that it was strange, but as he played and prayed, our hearts were soothed. I said, well, I will take his place, and I'll be gladly Jesus' fool. 'Cause love's heart, it was broken open so you could see it too. And if it's love you need, my friend, nothing less will do. All right. Thanks, you guys. Those of you who hung around. And remember, if you haven't done it, do it right now. Jesus, help me. Jesus, forgive me. Jesus, come into my heart. Jesus, help me. Jesus, forgive me. Jesus, come into my heart. يسوع ساعدني. يسوع سامحني. يسوع ادخل قلبي. يسوع ساعدني. يسوع سامحني. يسوع ادخل قلبي. Thank you so much, brother, Truth Defender. Thank you, everybody, for being with us, and God bless you. Have a wonderful night, and preach the gospel, love on Muslims, show them that Jesus loves them. In Jesus' name, God bless you. Have a good night.